The HR sector is undergoing a kind of a paradigm shift right now. Over the last few years, we've seen a slow and steady shift from a traditional role of HR into a much more strategic role. So let's try and understand how this shift is happening and what it means for an HR department. Now, in a traditional setup for HR, you basically would have people within your team who had a lot of HR domain knowledge. And this was the most important criteria for being a successful HR professional, because your entire focus was on running HR processes in the most successful way. So it could be that you're running a wide variety of HR functions. For example, hiring, onboarding, promotions, performance, appraisal, disengagement, and everything that goes before and after an employee is associated with a company. But at all points of times, your success was being measured by the completion of the task. So your approach was quite reactive to the kind of orders that you were getting, and the kind of people that you were hiring within your team were essentially being judged by the kind of SLAs that they were able to adhere to and the kind of quality of process completion they were following. So it was very much a task-based responsibility. So this is what a traditional process approach was. It was more about responding to the need of the hour and then being able to follow the laid down processes in the best possible manner in an efficient and really bug-free way. Now what's happening is that businesses have started to realize the kind of value HR can contribute to its business goals. So they are trying now to involve HR a lot more in strategic discussions and really give them a seat at the table when it comes to defining the company's goals and objectives. So while this is much more exciting and value-driven role, what it means is that now we need to have people who are really able to live up to the challenges that this role will require. So now we need people who not just have HR domain knowledge, but also are able to pull in a lot more business knowledge. So let me give you an example. In a traditional HR setup, perhaps your goal was to hire 100 people with a particular skill set. And now you would be judged on how quickly you were able to hire these people and perhaps at what cost. And if you were able to do this within the defined time periods and within the certain cost that your company was comfortable with, you would consider this task as successfully completed. But now, in this new paradigm, not just are you required to complete this task, but your role starts from much before that. So perhaps you would want to have actually a point of view on whether we need 100 people today. Do we need perhaps 50 people now and 50 people after 6 months? Or perhaps you need 120 people today, but across 4 different locations. So this is the kind of conversation that you would want to have before you take up this request. And then not just that, your success would be measured not just on hiring these people, but perhaps also looking at the quality of the people that you've hired and how they have performed once they've joined the organization. So a hiring department's task doesn't get completed when a person gets hired, but they're now also being evaluated on the performance of the person, perhaps the kind of cultural fit this new person has within the organization, and how long they stay with the organization. So the focus is now on many more ideas, and you are expected to play a much larger role in the way the organization works and the kind of goals that the HR department defines for itself. So we basically call this a philosophy of continuous improvement. And what we would do is that we would not just run processes the way they've been laid out perhaps at the beginning of the year or maybe 5 years ago, but we would constantly keep evaluating ourselves and check whether these processes are still effective for our new business goals and the new industry dynamic. And we would not measure our success just by completing the process, but rather what was the outcome of this entire activity. So your success gets measured not just by SLAs, but rather by the outcome of the entire project. So now you have a dual ownership. You own the process, But now you have a larger ownership and you also own the outcome. So I think this is a really new and exciting time for HR, because once you're really able to understand the full potential of your new role, you will be able to analyze your own success, your own performance, and your own requirements in a much more in-depth and data-driven way, and then be able to follow this path of continuous improvement, constantly tweaking how you're doing things currently, what is required for the future, and then be able to manage your current tasks and your future tasks to make sure they're in line with your business priorities in the best possible way.